Welcome to my bewitching podcast, where I take you on a journey to initiate you into the mysteries and pleasures of all things magical and more. I'm Julie Nelson, Rich Witch, botanical perfumer, astrologer, and creator of the Fragrant Oracle. I'll discuss a myriad of topics passionately on women rising unapologetically, witchcraft, including spells, rituals, insightful astrology updates, and oracle card readings. I'll also introduce you to special guests who share their bountiful knowledge and experience in the art of witchcraft, the intuitive and healing arts, and being wildly unapologetic. Welcome back to Rich Witch Julie podcast. This is your host Julie speaking, and today I am with the beautiful Emma Pleasure, and I love saying that. Actually, it feels really good. And Emma and I have spoken on my podcast before with some fantastic chats, so check them out. I will put the episodes in our show notes. And today we're here to talk about pussy magic. And I'm going to hand it over to you for Emma to do a brief intro and then lead us into this very powerful and empowering conversation. So over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Julie. It's so nice to be on here again with you. Thanks for having me again. For those that haven't listened to previous podcasts, I'm a sexologist with a psychology background, and I'm also a tantra teacher and a yoga teacher. And in my work, I really love to blend the ancient spirituality with the science of why our bodies and our minds do what they do, and use a lot of neuroscience things. So there's a lot of things that we unpack in this topic of pussy power, pussy magic, and how we can use this beautiful sacred part of our bodies to access some inherent wisdom and use it to support us to make decisions that are really aligned.
Beautiful. I love it. So where do we start, Emma, with this conversation? Yeah, I'm going to lead it over to you.
I think we need to start with the use of the word pussy, because it's going to be really polarizing for a lot of people. For many people, there is a really strong negative conditioning around it. And that's because the way that we've heard pussy used has generally been negative. It's been used as an insult, it's been denigrated. And what we've heard about this part of ourselves is lots of unhealthy and unhelpful messages that make us generally not feel great about our bodies. And so if the word pussy doesn't work for you, replace that with a word that does. And so yoni would be the traditional tantric word, which encompasses all of the external and internal genitalia. Vulva is the correct anatomical word for the external genitalia. There isn't an anatomical word that encompasses the external and the internal. And you might have your own favorite or a nickname, of course, as well.
I've heard Lady Garden, and I've used that myself just because I thought it was quite elegant.
Yeah.
But I have no shame in using pussy, and I agree that the word has it's been used in quite a derogatory way for women, and so understandably some people may be challenged or triggered by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we want to, start the conversation by acknowledging that this is a really challenging word, and that we also have the capacity to reframe what words mean. Meanings in language change all the time. All the time.
Mm.
There's constantly updates to dictionaries. And so we have the power to reclaim this word as a good thing and also to reclaim this part of our bodies as a good and beautiful thing. And the second in particular is a lot of what we want to do today by thinking about this part of our body, our pussy, our powerhouse, as being something that is beautiful and strong and full of so much wisdom of its own.
And it is. There
It
is
really
no
is.
doubt. It
Yeah.
is. Absolutely. I actually find it a little bit interesting that there isn't an anatomical word that encompasses the whole area. Um, that is, yeah, that makes me think. I'm not even sure what, but I'm thinking that's really interesting that it hasn't been, because it is a complete part of our physical being.
Yeah. It is. And also thinking about that from a medical perspective, there isn't like things that gynecological issues are quite often internal organs.
Yes.
And medically, there's perhaps not the need for everything to be referred to within the one term because we refer to the individual structures so
Yes,
that we are talking about a thing that's happening, you know, to your ovary or to your uterus, for
yeah.
example,
And I get
rather
that.
than,
I absolutely get that. It would make it much easier for them to section it and use terminology for specific areas. I just find it interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
It is. And especially when we compare that to the yoni and that encompassing everything, but in, you know, the tantric traditions, but then we also have phallus and that refers to the penis. And, you know,
Hmm.
we see phallic structures and there'll be testicles there as well, but there's more internal structures there as well that we don't talk about. So, you know,
Yes,
there's different naming traditions based on different ideologies and understandings.
of
Yeah.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So when we're talking about this topic of pussy magic, what I really want to tap into is the potential and the possibility for us to tap into our pussy. If you prefer the word yoni or whatever, please remember to insert your own word of choice. And if pussy is a little bit or a lot grating for you, to maybe think about where the idea of that came from and whether there's opportunity for you to get really curious about whether, if you didn't have that conditioning from how you've heard pussy referred to, whether you might think about it with less of that friction involved.
It's very, very important. Yes, I think reflection would be quite empowering. And I embrace the word. However, I know that within me there is like it comes up about how the word has been used in such a shameful way
Yeah.
towards women. So yeah.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah. And even as an insult to men. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So we're trying to flip that on its head and really think about this part of our bodies as something that's really powerful. And so when we're doing that, we can even think about how our body has its own wisdom, like how the cells of our bodies know, and how our intuition can come through clairsentience, which is a sense of knowing, and how we can feel these things specifically through our bodies, but also very much within our pussy,
Mm,
very much. And we can think about that as there being their own wisdom and the seat of the intuition and power. And a mentor that I've worked with talks about the GPS, the greater pussy in the sky, and how we can have this seat of our intuition that connects us to our power source, to something that is greater than us. And that requires us to tune in and to befriend our pussies so that we're not in a relationship which is perhaps love-hate or hate-hate or ignoring, but one in which we actually have a loving relationship where we're paying attention, where we're noticing, where we're perhaps even lavishing attention upon. And so when we come to think differently, we have an extra place within our bodies that we can tune into, that we can access our internal wisdom, our inner tuition,
Mm,
and that we can then use to guide us.
I love that. I love GPS.
Me
Except clouds
too. I
still come
really like
into my
it.
mind, but I think it is such a great. It's like I love my GPS.
Yeah. It's such a lovely concept that I think one, it really helps with the reprogramming of
Mm,
pussy, and to help us to really think about the wisdom that's available. And from a sexological point of view, the wisdom that our pussies can hold can very much be around what it's being conditioned to associate with sex. So
mm,
when there's, for example, tingling or activation, that's going to be because the body is recognizing some circumstances that are arising that remind it of sex. And so it's doing what it does to kind of start the process of physiological arousal. That doesn't mean we're mentally aroused. We've talked about that in previous podcasts.
yes.
So there is this activation, and we can, receive touch somewhere in our bodies that our pussy responds to. It might be at our shoulders, it might be at our neck, it might be our nipples. And so there are lots and lots of nerve endings that go to the pussy and even the vagus nerve and part of our nervous system. And so there's applications for working with the pussy in pain, with migraines, in stress management. There's some really interesting research in those areas, which is fascinating. And so there is some science to this.
Of course, absolutely. Of course there is. And that's the whole point of these conversations with you. It is about pleasure. It's about education. And there is that whole alchemy, if you like, of combining it all with the science, with the pleasure, that it is our powerhouse. I do have a question, and we did talk about this, which I was very excited to learn because I was never really sure, and because um, I've not had to be concerned about that at this point and hope that I don't. But for paraplegics, for example, where you were saying to me that research has found that they still can have pleasure in their GPS.
Yes, absolutely. So there is some wiring, some nerve connections that are not necessarily damaged. Yeah.
Mm,
And so the signaling can still transmit and the pleasure is still available. Yeah.
that's fantastic. And do you know what about quadriplegic? I would
It
imagine it would
depends
be
on
this.
where the wiring
Mm-hmm.
is going.
Mm,
And there's if it's connected to the brain and there's been a complete sever, then that's different. So it's I'm not as familiar with the quadriplegic
mm-hmm.
um, literature, but I know that for having loss of the use of your legs is not an automatic, um, does not automatically mean that there is also loss of genital pleasure and the
Yeah,
capacity to orgasm and have sexual function.
which is, I just think it is so empowering for people to know that, because in my own experience, it is an area where we do immerse ourselves in pleasure. The emotional, psychological, physiological release that we experience is so healing. It's,
Yeah.
yes, it's just out of this world, pleasurable and beautiful and exciting. But on a healing level, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which we have talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's heaps of pleasure hormones, the oxytocin, there's
Mm,
endorphins, we get a boost of blood flow, our skin can glow, pain receptors are switched off a little bit. So
mm,
there's just so many benefits. And when we've got more oxytocin and endorphins in our body, there's immune system benefits, there's
mm.
relational benefits, there's mindset benefits, there's other
Nervous
health
system.
benefits. It's just huge. And so from that perspective, why wouldn't we want more of this?
Absolutely,
Why
absolutely.
wouldn't we want more? But Pussy Magic is not just about making sure we orgasm. Pussy Magic is really about just being in tune with our bodies and the wisdom that is held there. And so we can become more in tune with our bodies by just spending time connecting, checking in. And so, one practice for that is we can perhaps even just first thing in the morning, or even right now, if you're not, say, driving and it's appropriate for you to do so, you can just place one or both hands to sit over the top of your pussy or your yoni. So you're just placing them like you might place your hands on your belly, just resting them there. And if it feels good and it's safe to close your eyes, you can close your eyes and
Mm.
just notice the connection between your hands and your pussy. And we're just noticing, feeling the parts of your hands that are connected and the parts of your pussy that are connected. You might notice the presence of your pulse. You might notice a tingling. You might notice with the connection that your body starts tingling. Perhaps you can breathe a little more deeply. As you stay noticing, you might also just tune in a little bit more deeply. Just noticing beyond the physical sensation of the connection, what's present. Is there a sense of ease? Perhaps there's some tension that you notice. There might be a gentleness. Perhaps there's some kind of knowing or sense or feeling of some sort. And so just allowing whatever is present to be present, whatever is true in this moment. Often we'll deny our intuition, thinking a thought can't be real. Just letting whatever is there be there without judgment. And then you could perhaps even ask a question of your body, of your pussy. It might be something like, what would you have me know? What would you like me to see? What would you like me to do? And just notice the response that comes up. Might be asking for rest. Might ask for some sunshine, for some time with friends. Your body might ask for touch, or maybe it's lunchtime. And just thanking your body. Just thanking your body for sharing this wisdom. And then we'll take a deep breath in. Exhale with sound. And then if your eyes are closed, blinking, open your eyes. And just noticing how you feel as you come out of that practice.
Well, say for me, I feel incredibly relaxed, actually.
It's
Very.
amazing how a few minutes of stillness and slowness can do that.
Mm, just beautiful. I feel and that was a very short experience, but I feel quite blissful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did come to me that I'd love to mention is, speaking of, because I do belly dancing, and there's one track that we have, or our teacher has choreographed for us. And the piece of music, which I've been asking her for months to add it to one of our dances, and finally she has. And the moment that this music comes on, I have a physical reaction. And of course, belly dance is a very sensual dance, or that's not what it was originally designed for. However, that's what it's often become. And it's a very, very powerful dance to connect in with your body. And for me, especially, my GPS. And then when the song comes on, like I often say to the girls, "Are you feeling it? Are you feeling what I'm feeling?" Because the response is very powerful. And like it's just it's it's hard to put it into words because one needs to experience it. And you might have your own song or music that this happens with. And for me, it's a very powerful way to connect in with my pussy as well. And it's just about honoring it in the movements, because, we're looking at the whole area, our hips and everything, our breasts, and it's just beautiful. It's so beautiful to connect in with all of this, because all of those feelings actually play a huge role, like from all areas of your body. I just had to share that.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I really love how at this stage of your life, at least, you have the permission to be in your body in that way. And you have that. So many people don't have that, with they're living in a state of disconnection. And so it's so nice to hear the experience of this. It sounds like it's a primal connection in your body that is elicited through the music, that it just hits the right spot for you, and your body just says, "Oh, this is so good."
Absolutely, absolutely. And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm 66. So just referring to what Emma was saying, at my phase of life or stage of life, or as a woman, when I hit 60, I have to say it was like a switch turned on. And I've always been quite sexy. It's my Scorpio, my Venus, my Lilith energy, which I really dance with. But I'm a 5 times Libra, for anybody that might be curious. But Scorpio is all about sex and transformation, and well, it's known as sex, death, and taxes, but transformation, out with the old, in with the new. And I've just found as myself that I don't care what people think. I feel sexy. I am sexy, and I love it. I love to play with it, and not to show off, not for ego. It makes me feel good in my body. It empowers me. It energizes me. It motivates me. And too often I have heard women. Now, as I've grown older, I love it. I'm so much stronger and more empowered. And quite frankly, I don't give a fuck what people think, because there are some people that say, "Oh, you shouldn't be behaving like that," or, the old patriarchal ways of and ideas of what a woman should be like. And it makes me sad when I hear women, and I hear it so often, once they hit 60, they think their life is done. And I'm going, oh my fucking God, mine began. another phase. It was like a new beginning. And it's where, like, embrace our whole being. It's okay for you to be sexy. It's okay for you to be sensual. And I say, like, we're not old, as in we are aging, absolutely, but you don't have to think like life is over.
Yeah.
Because our children have grown up, they're living independently, whether you have a partner or not. Think of it as a new beginning and explore yourself, because so many people um, shut that part of us away. And I did it for a while. And I often hear with clients, I'm tired, I want more energy. And as we go through questions or a little bit more delving, it's like, what do you really, really want? And I can tell you there are 4 or 5 things that always come up. They want to feel sexy or sensual. They want to feel more confident. Some say they want to have more sex because they're reclaiming their pussy power.
Yeah.
So I find it exciting, and I think that it's important for us to have people like you where we can speak openly about it, and not, it's not disgusting. It's fucking amazing that our body can be this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's so much conditioning that goes into, so much of what you've just said. And if we can let go of that conditioning, there is a world of love and pleasure that is available for us through our pussies. And if we're not in a relationship with our pussy because we're ignoring it, or if we're in a relationship that is not a healthy one, not a nice positive relationship, then really we're actually in a state where we're denying part of ourselves. And how can we live in a full state of expansion and in the fullness of authenticity if we're in complete denial that a part of us exists, or if we're hating on a part of ourselves? And that applies to any part of our body, not just our pussy. And so
absolutely.
shifting those conditioned ideas can really help us reclaim so much more than what it looks like on the surface, because we actually can love and appreciate the whole of our bodies and the whole of ourselves. And once we do that, we're not losing energy to the dislike of a part of ourselves. And if I
Yes.
frame that differently, how much time and energy and mental power do you use denying or disliking and in not accepting a part of your body? And how much would you get back that could allow you to have other things in your life that you really want, that you really truly deep down desire,
Mm. That's
that would
powerful,
then
Emma.
open up?
Yeah. All that energy that may be being put into the negative aspects, the toxic, the unhealthy thinking. Imagine switching that energy. That's very powerful. I know that we also talked about the art that is coming out, where and the difference in how they look, and it's unique. It's not something to be ashamed of, because I know there's been a trend in young girls having labia construction or deconstruction, perhaps, and because they may have been told that it doesn't look good or whatever has been said, or maybe they've seen something in a magazine and it's like, oh my gosh, we need to teach girls, women, of all ages that is, respectable. But even as young, it's okay to honor that part of our body, our GPS. If you have trouble saying pussy, I just love GPS. And teaching our daughters that that is a beautiful part of us. It doesn't, because I didn't grow up with that. I wasn't told it was awful. It just wasn't really spoken about.
Yeah.
And we do go off and explore ourselves, but imagine the confidence. And I love the art, how they've been doing. We talked about that once before with the plaster casts
Yep.
and the exhibitions. And I think it is magnificent for girls, women to see it's okay. We don't all want to look the same. How boring would that be?
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
unique individuals.
We are. We have all the same parts organized differently. Like you have a nose, I have a nose, but they're clearly very different to each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's all same for our pussies. It's all the same parts organized differently. And even from different biological sexes to the other, all the same parts organized differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So,
another thing that um, some derogatory things were said to me, after having a child. And I had a Caesar, by the way, because it was an emergency. And anyway, being told that, I wished you were more like how you were before you had a baby, or as you mature, you know, oh, some of the things that were said by a longtime partner um, about the size, because they change. If we put on weight or we lose elasticity and different things. And it's okay. It's not horrible. It's a part of us moving into being the wise woman, and we can still be wild, wise women and love every part of us, even through the changes.
yeah, absolutely. And I would also add to that that this type of comment, no matter the body type, body part that we're saying it about, is just straight up unhelpful and does not need to be said. What
Yes.
good is going to come from making remarks like that about someone's body? And the I can see from my perspective that no matter what body part we're saying about that, something like that about, it's automatically going to bring up oh, is it like some type of question? And if we hear it often enough, even if we consciously know it's not true or doesn't matter or it's unique and it's allowed to look how it looks, some part of us can come to believe that. And so it's
Yes.
really important that if we have someone who is saying these things to us, that we have a boundary around what it is not okay for them to say. And also, I would add, every body changes over time in a multitude of different ways. And as people, we change. So, in relationships, part of having good relational attributes is moving with each other as we change, whether that's emotional or not. And we're talking about the more healthy things here. I'm not suggesting, just to put a caveat in here, I'm not suggesting that if you have someone who, has some behavior change that means they end up abusive, that you should accept that. That's not what I'm talking about.
No.
But I'm talking about the mental flexibility that allows our partners' bodies to shift with time and allows us as people to evolve and grow. And that part of our responsibility to each other is to actually move with those changes alongside them, rather than be wishing that they were the person that we were when we first met them. We're
Exactly.
denying all that growth,
Yeah.
all that growth. Yeah, I
I
find
love
that
it.
really upsetting that you've had that experience, Julie. I don't have the words. I'm deeply sorry.
Oh, thank you, beautiful. It's something that I've worked through, but it can be quite devastating at the time, just when it comes out, and yeah, and multiple times. So yes, and I have no doubt that if I've experienced that, many other people have too.
Yeah,
And so I love, love what you said is about like that growth and evolution in our body. And there's so much more to honor within ourselves and each other
yeah,
as we age.
yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
you know,
And not just age, like sometimes our body will undergo changes because we've been pregnant, given birth, because we've had an illness, because we've had an accident. And so things might look different. And then the other thing that I would love to say on this is I've also seen some work done by someone, and I don't have a link available. I can try and do a hunt and see, but I've seen some work where um, people in heterosexual couples, there was a photographer who did some work where they took footage, images of the the woman's vulva, and then the men were identifying, no, that's the vulva, that's the one. That's
oh
her.
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there was also part of that work was also around what do you love about what you're seeing? And one in particular of these couples, they had a new baby, and she sort of, once she'd come out, she sort of expressed some insecurity. And it's possible that I'm not quite remembering right, but this is my memory. And he said, no, I love it all the more. I love it all the more knowing what it is that your body has done. And those
Oh.
changes represent what your body has done in our beautiful baby.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's
So,
beautiful.
on the flip side,
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So, and that is beautiful. I mean, that makes me almost want to cry with joy because it's so beautiful, because it's
right?
never been my experience.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And if we think about pussy power from that perspective, it's so strong. The uterus is so strong,
Mm.
and the cervix and the vaginal canal and the vagina and how everything opens so that we can birth this, miracle into the world is just incredible. There is so much power in that experience. And, from another perspective, I think that we can really get hung up in not knowing what it's like and be really in our head that our body knows what to do. There's certain circumstances where we might need some help, but if we let our body do what the body will naturally do, then there's a good chance that the body will do what it is designed to do.
Yeah, it's when, I mean, I do think about how we function um, on a daily life. The body is just spectacular, and I think it's not honored enough. It's simply not honored enough. I mean, imagine like when you really think about it, simplest things, bending down, picking up a glass to drink some water, like walking upstairs. I mean, and nature is all of that. We are nature, nature is us, in my personal belief. Then it's the same if you look at a flower bloom. And we love that process of watching trees and flowers and grass grow. And we're the same.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
look at ourselves as we flourish and we come to full bloom.
Yeah.
It's that beautiful process, like the lotus.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very magical. And
Yeah. And a constant evolution of new branches and new leaves and new flowers unfurling. I happened on Instagram randomly, I happened upon um a profile. The entire thing is time lapse of plant growth.
mm,
And so they're just doing a time lapse of a leaf that is unfurling. It was just, the type of thing that we like to watch because there's completion, there's process, it's nature, so it's soothing. It was really interesting.
it is stunning to watch flowers and leaves and that, as you said, unfurl. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And if we could, I mean, I know for me, it's I'm just totally immersed in that, and how nice that would be for us to each take that on about ourselves and imagining seeing ourselves, closing your eyes and unfurling into the magnificent beings that we are. So I feel I might just say that if I'm going to bring a little bit of the power of scent into this, because all the time I was thinking, there is oils. When we inhale an essential oil, a natural scent, I'm only talking about, it goes directly into the limbic system, to the hypothalamus, and as other areas. But the hypothalamus is the control center of some hormone production and release, digestive activity, body temperature, feelings, some feelings and emotions. And perhaps if you're struggling to, or you wish to enhance tapping into that beautiful GPS. I've really hooked on the GPS now. Then using oils like ylang ylang, jasmine, rose, neroli are really beautiful. They're what I call the goddess oils, and they're very sensual, and they do associate to our heart and our sacral and base chakras. So have a play with some scents as well. And I know for me, jasmine is one of my go-to, and it's very sensual and sacred. And ylang-ylang is very courageous and bold and sexy, and rose is sovereign. So we can use the oils as well to explore and help to release endorphins in our body. Um, Emma, are there any last words from you, my lovely? This has been beautiful. Thank you.
I think my last words for today would be our body is often so much more powerful and so much more wise than we appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So tuning in, like somatic awareness is just so important. And it's really important, not just for, the type of thing that we're talking about today, which is potentially a little esoteric, but it's also really important for supporting ourselves with our nervous system regulation and our emotional regulation. So befriend your body, and doing that practice, putting your hands, just laying them over the top. So it's just really resting on your pubic mound. Then doing that practice and just pausing and listening creates an incredible opportunity for you to slow down and notice what's
Mm.
happening. And that can then guide your next choices.
Ah, I love that. Yes, trusting. It's
Mm,
trusting ourselves, our body, our intuition.
absolutely. Befriend your body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emma. I really appreciate it. I know that you've been going through some physical, you've had surgery, and that can take a toll on us physically. So I really, really appreciate you giving time and energy, because this is a very powerful podcast, I feel, for all to listen to. You have great wisdom on all of this, and I love our conversations. So thank you so much. You can, if you wish to connect to Emma, her contact details will be in the show notes, because she does see clients and mentor and teach, and yeah, you can connect in with her. So I'm going to close today's podcast. I wish you all a magnificent week ahead. And again, thank you, Emma. It's been magical. Bye for
You're
now.
welcome. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you for joining us on the enchanting journey through the realms of magic, mystique, and self-discovery. I hope you enjoyed our time together on the Rich Witch podcast, where we delve into the depths of witchcraft, astrology, and the unapologetic rise of women. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And as we wrap up, I encourage you to carry the wisdom and magic we've shared into your own life. Embrace the power within you and revel in the beauty of your own unique journey. Stay tuned for more magic, and in the meantime, stay curious and know your magic is a gift to the world. Blessed be, beautiful ones, and remember, the magic is always within you. This is Julie Nelson, signing off.